sir.
The liberation of mutant kind has begun.
Welcome to the future.
Who's this clown?
Not clown, Joker.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Nobody tampers with the equipment except Tony Stark.
Good idea.
United, the Avengers are strong.
Hawkeye, hands off.
Fool! Have you forgotten my invincible magnetic power?
Not this time, Magneto.
My mutant brain senses danger.
Something unseen is slowly spreading its poison, edging tempers.
Think carefully before you do this.
You filthy criminals.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to issue 148 or episode 148 of Two Fat Guys Pull List. It's here. I am Jim. Nate is here with us, but I will bring him in a second. I'm going to take care of some business like we usually do at the beginning of the show, and then we'll kick it off. Hope everyone's doing well, and yeah, let's just get cracking, shall we? Also, there's storms in my area. And so if my internet goes out, I apologize. If the show just abruptly ends, that's because there's some storms in the areas. And my internet has already gone out once this evening. So I am on shaky ground as we speak. But we need to talk about our show's sponsor, and that is Collected Comics and Games here in the DFW area. They're a great LCS that me and Nate frequent, and that's where we get our books and get everything that we so desire when it comes to nerddom. But yeah, we'd love for you to go check them out if you're ever in the area. They have 3 locations now, one in Fort Worth, one in Keller. I need to get in focus. What's going on here? Get in focus. There we go. One in Fort Worth, one in Keller, and one in Irving. The Irving location just recently opened up, so if you're ever in the DFW area, please make sure to hit up Collected Comics and Games. They're an amazing place where you can get all kinds of crazy good stuff. So go say hi to Ron and Brent for us. Usually I would talk about Brainy Comics, but Brainy Comics is actually down right now, so we won't talk about that. But we'll also talk about our sub goal giveaway, which we're on the road to 950 subscribers. And when we hit that 950, you know the drill. We're giving away the CBCS graded 9.8 King in Black number 5 retail incentive. No, sorry, spoiler variant. It's Ryan Stegman. Pretty sick cover, giving this away at 950 subscribers. And we're very close, guys. We're at 915 as we speak. That number does fluctuate, but guys, we're right there. We're right on the cusp. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And then also, when you hit that subscribe button, you enter to win our CBCS 9.8 graded Spider-Man number 4 amazing original sin tie-in, the first appearance of Silk. We're giving this away at 1,000 subscribers. So please, please, please make sure to hit that subscriber button. Please sub. We would love for you to sub. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Nate here in a second. Let me see here. First, I got to share my screen. Do this. And then we got to pop this out. And then we got to pick Nate. Then go like this. And then I hit this button. And then everything should work. Days. Way up. Way up. Peanut butter jelly. Hey, are you okay?
I'm alive.
You good? How are your feelings? You feeling okay?
Very sleepy. Very
sleepy. Is he sleepy because
she was up all night?
Oh no. How are your football feelings? See, I knew it. He was trying to mask it. He's trying to hide his feelings. I'm sure you're okay.
I'm not okay.
I was shocked. Like, I was sitting there, we were having dinner over at Torchy's, and they had it on the tubes, and when we walked in, I was like, oh my god, they're still, like, really? And then it just fell apart.
No actual Cowboys fan was shocked by that.
Really?
No real Cowboys fan.
I thought you were
was shocked by that.
I thought you all were going to the Super Bowl. Like, it was done deal.
No real Cowboys fan is saying that.
Okay.
No real Cowboys fan has been saying we're going to the Super Bowl for a decade.
Okay.
They know better. They all know better.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure you were okay, because it blew me away that the Cardinals did anything You know, I mean, did you see the Broncos game?
Yeah, that was ludicrous. Like, isn't this the whole reason why we brought Sean Payton on?
That's
Stop shit like that. He's the defense man.
Broncos country. Let's ride. And then what was the other? There was another game that was just like, oh, it was the Miami, or no, that was the Broncos game, right? They played Miami. Yeah. That's fucking nuts. Anyway, let's stop. We don't talk about football. Right? So this week, pretty hefty, beefy week. I think there was a mixture of some really fun books, and then there was a mixture of some like, I probably didn't need to read that. That's kind of how I felt anyway for this week. I'd give it a solid B, maybe a B plus. I could be convinced to put a B plus on there.
I'd put a B plus on mine.
Okay. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody. What up, John? What up, Patty? What up, Joe? What up, Jaden? Joe says, I grabbed the hardcover I Am Stan. It's a Stan Lee biography. I gotta say, I'm about 50 pages in, and there is a strong narrative of Stan being an egotistical maniac. It's sad. I mean, I think that's pretty... Isn't that pretty well known?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it is pretty well established that Stan is not the wholehearted, good-natured fella that we thought he was. Or that really any man was coming out of the era that he was.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no way that you come out of that time squeaky clean. But anyway, that's interesting. Might have to check that out. Grayson, what up? He says, love football talk. Also love this week's comics. All right. Well, let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Marvel's very tiny. I think we only have 3 Marvel books. We're kicking it off with Dark X-Men issue number 2 from Fox. Initially, reading this issue, I felt very meh. Because it just seemed like we were setting up a lot. Well, I don't want to say set up is bad, but the way it was being set up kind of felt like a very big departure from the first issue, which was kind of run and gun, and we're kind of just getting thrown into the action. But I guess like you kind of have to have an issue like that after an issue 1, which is so hectic and fast paced. Whereas this one was a little bit more, setting up, still kind of establishing the new team, establishing their mission. But towards the end of the book, it started kind of growing on me. It kind of brought me back to why I liked the first issue, which is you've got this ragtag of mutants that are not necessarily well liked or even have ever been kind of looked at as a member of someone that would help lend a helping hand. And I really dug Madeline Pryor's soul Cerebro. That was fucking sick. Like being able to literally see people's souls, which is pretty dope, and seeing mutant souls. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, man, seeing the resurrected Archangel with the skull head and how he came about and essentially just killed a bunch of people with his iron feathers was fucking cool. I thought that was really cool. So that's my impression of Dark X-Men. Did you read this?
I did not.
No.
I got through the week and only had X books, and I was like super stressed, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
No. So I did not read Dark X-Men or Uncanny.
Well, I think
I don't have the space in my brain for these right now.
I think you would have enjoyed it. I think this book is still doing what we said the first issue was doing, which is it's not the norm of the narrative of Fall of X when it comes to Karen Gillan and Al Ewing. It's very much in the same vein of Gary Jerry's X-Men, which I like. So still a solid side story for the current Fall of X storyline. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But and then I think it was, who was it? I think it was John. Yeah, the variant covers for this book. There were some pretty sick ones. So
yeah, there was.
If I had some extra cash, I probably would have picked up the 1 in 25, but no. All right. Oh, God. Let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Did you like it?
I thought it was fine. I liked the art change for sure.
The art, I think the cover and the art were probably the biggest positives for this book. I think I'm just over this run. I'm over the run. I don't care. Even though we got somewhat of an answer of what's going on with Groot, this just doesn't, I don't know, for me it doesn't feel like a Guardians book. I mean, I haven't read many Guardians books, but like this one just didn't feel very, it just doesn't feel like a Guardians book to me. And I don't know if that's Al Ewing's run spoiling me or if that's Donny Cates's run spoiling me. But it just doesn't feel like, I don't know, the story just doesn't feel right. You know, what's going on with Groot feels like a mini series that should be going on between him and Rocket. Like it should be Rocket going to save Groot. You know, like that to me, like that whole storyline feels more compelling in that style of format than what we're dealing with here. Because right now, I don't have really any connections currently to this version, the versions of these characters. Like I don't care about Nebula. I really don't care about Star-Lord because he doesn't even sound or read like him prior to Al Ewing's run. He just feels like a completely, all these guys outside of Rocket, I feel like they're Lansing and how do you say the other guy's name? Lansing and Kelly's version of Rocket feels pretty true to the comic book version of Rocket. And I don't think you can fuck up Groot that bad to say that you couldn't say the same thing for Groot. But I don't know, man. I felt like this was a miss, in my opinion. Outside of us learning kind of what happened to Groot and why he is the way he is.
Well, I mean, what did we really learn? Like, we learned that they went into this zone that was like a marked off zone that they weren't supposed to go into. But like, and everyone thinks it was somehow their fault. But like, what actually happened was still not super clear to me, and like why it was such a big deal. It felt way too, man, like the point from A to B was so small, yet we did a winding road like this the whole time. And I'm just like, just go the line for me. Just tell me what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick around because it's Guardians, but
this is 12 issues.
I think the biggest thing that well, we don't know for sure, but I believe it is. I don't think that there has been an official like solicit ending. We know that for sure. But I think one of the two writers basically said, "Yeah, like we had a plan the whole time. Like, it was just gonna end."
I don't know, man. I think Guardians has now moved to a game time decision for me on if I'm gonna pick it up or not. Like it feels like we're dragging our feet, and it's not compelling to me whatsoever. It just, you know, I'm if anything, I'm frustrated that I picked this up because it took a spot for another book that Joe's actually mentioning right now. The Captain America #1 was a banger as well. I recommended the show. It shows Steve pre-Captain America Survive on his own in the 30s when he rises. I can't read that part because there's a heart in front of it. Nazis, New York take place. Okay. I want, you know, I even heard you vaguely say like, hey, I want, you know, you were wondering about it. And after I got done reading this, I was like, well, I mean, I could have put some attention over there because like a lot of people are talking about Captain America right now.
Oh no, I mean, I wonder about it as in, how could this possibly be worth my time?
Well, I guess for me, I just think for me,
Captain America to me is the second worst comic character of all time. So I don't.
I got you. Ever. Well, this wasn't fun, so I might have had more fun with Captain America. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm sorry. I'm being a Debbie Downer. I'm just anyway.
Split it up. I'll do Guardians. You do Cap.
Joe also says my pick of the week is Predator versus Wolverine. It starts off in the 90s. And it documents the century-long rivalry between the two. It's amazing.
1800s.
1800s, sorry. Well, it says 1900s. I said 1990s.
1900s. You said 1990s.
1990s. All right. Next up, we have Uncanny Avengers issue number 2 from Gary Jerry. You know, I have been enjoying Gary Jerry's experiment with the X-Men. So this for me was a lot of fun. I mean, he throws a wrench in the plan almost immediately. We're only on issue 2, and we basically have the mutants on the team, which, I mean, Cap is completely outnumbered. In some sense, revolting against Cap, basically saying they don't believe that Captain America should be the leader of the Avengers. They want him on the team, but they don't want him as the leader of their group because of the optics of it, which means if Cap gets killed, it's going to be blamed on them, and they're already in a shitty position as mutants, and so they're trying to distance the usage of Cap in their missions in case if something goes horribly wrong. And I kind of liked that, you know. And we've also got, you know, we still have the showdown between Captain Krakoa and Captain America, and we still don't know who this guy is, but he's a major player because he's putting Cap on his feet. He's putting the rest of the mutants on their feet. And so disinformation and disorganization is at an all-time high when it comes to majority of the characters in this book. So it's not all peachy, right? And I'm not saying I wanted it to be, but I think Gary Jerry did a good job of really dialing up the dissent and dialing up the chaos that is the fall of X, which I feel like isn't happening, even though some major shit's going on in Karen Gillan and Al Ewing's books. It just feels so out of place compared to the narrative that Gary Jerry is writing. So I liked it. I think it was fun. It did not have an issue 2 slump, which I'm happy about. And this basically just reinforces my excitement, and I will say excitement, for what's going to happen soon with the announcement of the actual fall of X and rise of the power of X with Gary Jerry and Karen Gillan. I think we're in for a good time. I really don't want to talk much about that announcement. I think, you know, I haven't talked to you about this, but I'd really love to do a video on all the
New York Comic-Con announcements
from Marvel. I think that would be really fun. And then if DC decides to not throw another Night Terrors event in the middle or the beginning of the year, I think we could do one for DC. But I just really don't want to talk too much about that. But it's got me stoked. John, I hated Predator versus Wolverine because it was $7.99 and I had to buy both mirror variants. It was good. It was a good read though. I can understand that people are upset that Gillen and Ewing take a backseat because of the rise of Eternals, Judgment Day, Sins of Sinister. That's 2 years of them being the center of the X office. No, I get it, but it just, you would think that Al Ewing and Karen Gillan would be the primary focus of something, you know, with the fall of X, you know, and
well, Ewing's still in the mix. He's writing the Magneto book, so he's going to be very involved with what's going on.
It just doesn't seem like his voice is present. You know, his books don't feel like they really matter. It's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of happening over here, when, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. Maybe we're just not. Maybe I'm not reading them right. Maybe Karen Gillan's books are just, you know, well, the last X-Men read, both of us were kind of like, what just happened? And everyone was like, it's amazing. Like,
no, I agree. I totally agree.
Huh?
I just didn't get it.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to DC. Like I said, Marvel's a very quick read this week, and we've got a ton of DC.
It's a DC week for sure.
First off, well, I mean, because they had Night Terrors literally destroy their entire line of comics, so they are back with a force, whether you like it or not. We got World's Finest issue number 19. I didn't have an issue with the book. I thought it was okay. It was fun. It was a silly goose time. And I fully expect this rogue Kryptonian scientist to show up in the main continuity fairly soon, whether that's in the Superman books or the Batman books or a massive event within the DC universe. because it just kind of feels like that, like when he did the demon dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it just feels like he's gonna come back. You know, because we know we're gonna get the Thunder Boy guy. At some point, either in main continuity or back in World's Finest. So I can't not see something like that happening. But I enjoyed the issue. I kind of forgot how we got to that point. And again, I will say that a lot this week when it comes to our DC books, even though we got this one, I think, last month. But it just feels like forever because of the lack of DC. And Calvin, I forgot about the show. Did you guys watch Evangelion? We will talk about it. We will definitely talk about it. We will talk about it. But overall, I mean, I liked it. I'm still high on this book. I think it's a lot of fun. And I don't know. I mean, I miss Mora, but
well, yeah, of course. But I think Travis Moore did a pretty good fill in for this, and just little 2 issues. But I think it's pretty interesting that Mark Waid continues to use this book to push his way into continuity or main continuity, because even if that guy, it's not that guy that shows up at the end of this, in that little epilogue we got of that weird shiny dude in space or whatever.
The Phantoms in the
Phantom
Zone.
It says, yeah, in the Phantom Zone. It says continued in the pages of Action Comics in 2024. So there is something that's going to happen there.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, good still use time for sure. All right, next up we have Catwoman, issue number 57. This is normally not on our pool, but it is part of the Gotham War, which is part 3 with Batman. And I'll say this right now, and I'm sure this is a mistake because DC is so horrible with continuity when it comes to their artists. This is incredibly close to being my pick of the week. I had a lot of fun with. I just had a lot of fun with it, and it reminded me why I like Teenie Howard as a writer, which we haven't had her on the show for a very long time. So I don't know, man. Like the fluidity between Catwoman and with Teenie Howard and Chip Zdarsky's Batman, I think we have a really solid pairing of writers doing this little mini event, and I think that's kind of it's being underestimated in my opinion. I really like the issue. I really dig Red Hood kind of playing both sides and trying to get Batman to play ball, and clearly he did something to him. But I also like seeing Catwoman kind of show, I wouldn't say her true colors, but she showing her emotion, right? Like she cares for the Bat family. She clearly does. Yeah. And that's why she's trying so hard to work with them, and Batman's being incredibly stubborn. And we'll see who's right? Like you would assume Batman's right, but it's kind of looking like he's being the dick, like he's being the asshole right now.
Oh no, he uncertainly is. Yeah, for sure is being the asshole right now.
But overall, I really liked it, and I, when I did my aside or pre-orders this past Friday, I mean, I saw Catwoman and I saw part whatever, and I was like, boop, I didn't even hesitate.
Yep, just threw it in there.
Yeah, but I liked it.
This has been really fun. I'm even gonna pick up the Red Hood now because of this issue, because of seeing what his role is and how he fits in there as like a foil for both Batman and Catwoman at the same time. I think that's really, really awesome use of his character. And a character that I actually, I know who he is, but I have not read a ton of Red Hood comic books, so he hasn't had an ongoing since we started picking things.
Yeah,
but I would say to me the biggest impact of this is Nico Leon. Like my eyes are like immediately just like, whoa, what else has this dude done? Like I gotta go read it. I gotta figure it out because his artwork is really good. I'm actually looking right now. He actually had a pretty lengthy run on Miss Marvel back in 2016. So now I kind of want to go back and read some old Miss Marvel. But yeah, I was blown away by the art. I thought it was spectacular. Really good.
Yeah, and I think the story overall, I think Teenie Howard did a really good job of embodying the voice of the event. I think
Mhm.
it just coincides really well with Chip. And, you know, I not that I ever doubted that, but it was refreshing. And I think maybe it's more of the fact that we just hadn't had our DC books in a long time. So reading something like this and it was DC, I think, you know, if there's a clear winner of the week, I think it's DC in the sense, which is really odd to say because I'm going to be ripping their ass the entire show for their Night Terrors thing, but it just felt, I don't know, this felt refreshing. It felt good. So, you want to hit that halftime question?
Yes. Average Joe says, if Marvel and DC want sales, if Marvel and DC wants sales to help understand the extent. Joe, one of us is having a stroke.
I think I am too. I can't read it.
Am I having a stroke? Runs then while they offer the apps that is the same price for 2-year subscriptions versus a month of comics they're selling. Joe, you might have to redo that one for me, but I'm very lost. Very lost.
Something I'm guessing
Joe
what I'm
also
saying,
says that he's Team Batman, and that makes me very sad.
you see what? Oh, he's Team Batman. I got you.
I think Batman is boober wrong, but
Well, is he boober wrong because it's him speaking, or is he boober wrong? Is boober a word? Did you say boober?
no, I just
Made it up. Boober.
I was inspired by Lauren Boebert and her boobie grabbing at the
Oh my god.
opera or whatever.
What an embarrassment.
I know.
You know, what I'm intrigued about that is to see the alter ego version pop up. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, there is another DC event coming. Of course there is, and it'll probably be like Death Metal XX or some shit.
No,
like
it's even worse. It's Beast World, and where everybody like turns into animals or some shit. And it's being written by Tom Taylor. And Nightwing and Titans are like the main focal points of it. It's so disappointing. I feel like we've avoided talking about it because of how like sad we're gonna be.
I like Tom Taylor. You know I like Tom Taylor, but I can't do it. To me, I'm gonna piss some people off.
Boba juice. Ooh.
Ooh. To me,
it wasn't an opera. Sorry, it was a play.
It was Beetlejuice. I'm sorry, and no, I'm not. DC's events feel incredibly gimmicky, like the big ones, the really big ones. This part now, what we're talking about, great, amazing, fun. The ones that are, you know, during the summer or during the winter or about to reset everything, they feel so just gimmicky and like, hey, we're back in the 1950s and everyone's gonna be a beast. Oh, you know, like, come on, guys. Like, it just doesn't. I guess it's not metal enough. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but like, you know, even though it was a bit of a disappointment when King in Black was announced, me and you both were like, oh shit, here we go. You know, like fucking metal, dude. Yeah. And with DC, it's like,
I mean, I started picking up a Venom book because of it.
Yeah, like, get your popcorn out. Ready? We're going to reset the DC universe again. Wonder Woman's going to be a demigod. Whoops, not again. Woo! Like, that's how DC events feel like for me. I'm sorry. All right, Joe. DC Marvel wants sales. If DC Marvel wants sales, then while they offer the app, if it's a fraction of the price, would that be hard to know what the audience wants?
Because without sales, how would they know if the run is good or not? Well, if you're on the apps, they still know what's being read and what's not being read, right? So to a certain extent, I would imagine that they have some type of data. However, I think you're probably pointing to a larger issue, which is, do comic companies currently use any sort of actual real is the data that they use to draw conclusions about what's successful a proper pieces of data, because like as we see, most of it has to do with like pre-order sales, and pre-order sales are just not accurate reflection of the book, because there are some people that are just they don't like having the commitment being tied to having to make, telling a company or telling a comic book shop, hey, I promise you I'm going to buy this book every month, please order it ahead for me. They just want to show up to the shop and buy it off the shelf, and that's it.
Yeah.
And but those sales literally aren't counted by to a certain extent, because obviously a shop has to anticipate and buy more than what they resale. But I don't know. I think the short answer is that's probably still another piece of anecdotal evidence that's really hard to tell the overall picture. Honestly, if you want to track good sales, you should probably find a way to backdoor with all of these pirating sites and see what's getting pirated the most. Then you'll actually know what your sales are.
Right. Calvin, the only reason why
are.
the only reason why they keep doing these events is because it keeps making them money. Right, and that's fine. But imagine how much more money they'd make if their events meant something. You know what I mean? Imagine how much more money they would make if their events had consequence. Had people going, I cannot wait to go pick that up, rather than like, I'm kind of a fan of horror and I like DC. I'm going to go read Night Terrors. Gosh, it's insane how disinterested I was with DC when Night Terrors dropped. I know some of y'all liked it, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on that. If you liked it, it's great. It was not for everybody. But it just felt incredibly... It was just so disruptive to have an event like that. And now we're going, hey, by the way, this, in the winter, we're doing Beast Spore War. Like, what? What are we doing here? And I'll say this. Marvel's kind of in that same boat for the winter, right? What do we got coming up in the winter? And I think you're somewhat excited for it, but I'm completely disinterested. And that's the gang war shit. Like, I don't care. I really don't.
I'm pretty light on that.
But there's some people that are super stoked for it. So I'm not saying that Marvel isn't, there's not one publisher isn't guilty for the other, but I just, when we were in the midst, like, I cannot even imagine. Can you imagine how we would have felt and how we would have really digested Hickman's House and Powers in real time? Can you imagine reading that one issue where they all die on the space station and having to wait to read what happens next? Like, we were incredibly fortunate to read it as an entire piece of one singular piece. Yeah. But I think we missed out on some of that anticipation and just timing with them coming out live. And I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Anyway, someone told me that the big two don't care of sales. It's more marketing and movies and merchandise. That makes sense. Loving DC, but you're right. For the events for the moment, they should make the No Man's Land event. That shit was awesome. No Man's Land, anything would be great. Maybe a DC animated movie, but way different animation style. What is that?
It's basically a time where something happens in Gotham, and I can't remember why, but like all the bridges that lead to the island, the government closes them down and basically says, "Fuck you, Gotham, you're on your own now." And like literally left, like, just lawless, completely cut off from America. Like, that
sounds dope.
I think it went on for like a while. There's three omnibus that make up the entire storyline. So it's pretty large.
Nate, Joe's asking why you're Team Catwoman.
Mainly from Bruce's hypocrisy and like inability, or I wouldn't say inability, but his unwillingness to look at things through others' perspectives. If it's not the way that he first thinks about it in a knee-jerk reaction way, he's like, nope, you're wrong. Also, he commits crimes to stop crimes, and that logic just doesn't really follow to me. But also, I get a kick out of Batman getting put in his place, so I have a bias towards
Nice change of
leaning
pace.
that direction anyway. Yeah, and right now his only ally is Damien, the biggest piece of shit ever. So, especially like when it comes to the Bat family. So,
Right.
like, if that's your only ally, then oops, you've probably made a mistake.
Oops. All right, let's talk about Green Lantern War Journal, issue number 1 from Phil and Kennedy Johnson.
Did you read this?
No.
You got it. And
Look,
you didn't read
no,
it.
look, listen. I had a certain amount of time, and when I got to this, I was just kind of like, I want to do something else.
Did you read more comics?
I read everything
I
but
finished Hickman's Avengers run.
I read everything but this. Basically, I just got to it and I was like, I'll read it later. Nate'll do it.
I mean, I did do it, and I really enjoyed it. This was a good episode. Or a good issue. I was not expecting for there to be a little bit of a heartfelt, sad sort of moment. You've got John wanting to. So the United World Federation or whatever has deemed that Sector 2814 or whatever Earth is, that they're off limits, no one's to go in or out, and no rings are allowed in there. Except John doesn't need a ring to get his constructs anymore. And so he's out there chilling with his mom and helping fix her house and do the lawn and stuff, and some green fresh lantern shows up and is like, we got a signature from your area that says there's energy going on, so you've got a ring and it's a contraband ring, so you better give it up. And he basically beats the shit out of the guy and is like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, no way, I don't know. And even if I had one, there's literally nothing stopping it. All of that's going on while in the background we've got this NASA team that runs across. Did you read any of the preview stuff? Where it was it almost looked like it was Black Lantern.
Yeah, I read the first. I remember I read the
thing.
first one.
So that kind of comes up again, where there's this I don't know if it's alluding to a black ring being out there and someone getting infected with this black ring, and that they're gonna be somehow you can kind of see it from this black ring going on there. And so I don't know, there's a lot of interesting ideas at play here. There's a very sentimental moment where John's mom kept asking about his sister and when she was getting home and stuff, and you don't realize his mom has dementia until she asks the same question 3 times.
Yeah.
And then finally he's about to tell his mom again, yo, she's dead, and you crazy and you don't have your brains. But then he creates his sister out of a construct and just tells her, oh, sorry, I'm home now, and placates her and stuff. And I was just oh my god, this is awful. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson gets Jon Stewart's voice for as well as I know the character. It feels very accurate. And plus I enjoy Jon Stewart stories. I enjoy Green Lantern stories. This was just all
right there. Yeah.
Vibing for me. Did it.
Jaden says love the black
Kyle. Calvin, I have not read Blackest Night. You haven't you?
I think I read the main.
You read Blackest
I know
Night?
I read the main story when I was in college because I was collecting the rings every week when they would release another issue. Because I still have that. They had plastic rings, all the colored rings. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's right. I would love to read the whole thing. We about to lose internet? No, I think.
Yeah, I started. No, my thing kept maybe it was just my side, but it kept stuttering and stuff.
Yeah, you're good.
I started Jeff John's run, but I only got through the first 2 trades, I think. Sinestro Wars, as far as I got. So.
Yeah, I remember Sinestro Roaster, but I never read that fully. John, Jim's right about the DC events. I want to like them, but they are totally uninteresting and moment killers. Night Terrors made me drop half the DC books I started reading. Yeah, it's definitely a bummer. All right, jumping over to Nightwing 106. I think this book, unfortunately, is dealing with that drop off, dealing with the Night Terrors drop off. There are things that I remember happening prior to the break, but I really had to like search in the back of my mind why certain things were happening, right? Like with the version of Nightwing with the shaved head, I'm like, what, man, you know, and then the fugitive guy, I forget his name, who's looking for the box. I don't know. It just I felt completely Heartless. Yeah, I felt disconnected. No, not Heartless. There was a mobster that him and Babs were sheltering. And then his like fairy self came, and you remember that? Like a version of him showed up with a shaved head in the middle of the woods. And then we just like lost that storyline forever, and we went to the Titans basically being in the book for 4 issues, and then we came back and then immediately went into Night Terrors. Like, I just feel like Nightwing currently is just much like this cover, falling down a hole. And Jaden just says, we don't talk about Rick. See, like, that's his alter ego. That alter ego shows up in this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's not his alter ego. That's who he was when he had brain damage, when he got shot in the head.
Sure. Like, I just feel like the momentum has been sucked out of this book. And when I read, this is the first DC book this week that I was like, shit, man, I feel like, I'm not saying I'm dropping it in the slightest, but if Heartless hadn't been in the book, you know, doing his extendo gun thing, coming for your heart, I would have been completely disinterested with this issue. I just felt incredibly lost.
Oh.
Dowie.
Take everything he said, and I just feel the complete opposite. I loved this issue. This was finally, I was like, finally, like, we are back to what we were doing before. We are not being interrupted with Night Terrors, and to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like we were hitting on a lot of different things here, and I guess maybe because I remembered, it made it a little bit more interesting to me. But the fact that Heartless showed up to the super secret area and killed that guy like immediately, I was like, oh damn, holy shit! Like, I thought the whole Rick thing was really interesting. I think that's funny that keeps bringing up, because I really like how Tom Taylor will almost purposefully now find old continuity that's kind of not looked upon in a very favorable fashion, and will find a way to retcon it or use it in a manner that is more favorable, or at least funny in some way. And I think that's exactly what we're doing here. I'm not super familiar with the character that we get reintroduced to here, Bay, but I'm from what I remember, I read 4 issues of that run, because they tied into Joker War back when during his first run. And then I also really liked the Batgirl's backup. I don't know where that came from, but I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought it was cool that we got to have some Batgirl Nightwing interaction.
Silly goose time.
Yeah, and I think it's probably setting up a secondary storyline that'll probably come into play later. So.
Interesting. Joe says, in your opinion, has Tom Taylor lost the flair of his Nightwing run? I feel it's dropping in value and losing that magic it had. I don't think so. I think if anything, again, this is just my opinion. I think that a lot of DC books this week and probably for this month will deal with that just momentum killer that was Night Terrors. There are some that don't. There are some that pick right back up and you're like, yep, this is just as good as it was before the break. And there's we'll get to one of those books here in a second. So speaking of, we got Superman issue number 6, The Chained Part 1. I really liked this issue, and I told you this, and I don't know if you may not agree. Obviously, I want our original artist to be on the book. You just got kicked. I got kicked out of chat. Why? That's weird. I don't know, man. The end may be coming for the show, but obviously I want our original artist, with our cover artist doing the interiors. But I actually liked the new art. I thought it felt. I'm not going to say similar, but it still felt it rang true to the vibe of the book with its first initial 5 issues. So yeah. I wasn't upset. And I quite enjoyed the new art style. But obviously, if I had to pick, I would have our cover artist as our main artist. So I don't know what's going on with chat. Everyone's saying they're getting kicked out. That sucks. But overall, I think the pacing in the book was great. I really liked this idea that Lex is still kind of pulling the strings, even though he's in a coma. And I really I dug this introduction to this new villain, this chained villain who's got it out for Lex Luthor. I don't know. I'm gonna hold this. I am right at the edge of pushing. This is my pick of the week.
Damn.
I'm right at the edge.
And you were not going to touch this book. We were just when this book first got announced. We were just coming out of that Joshua Williamson Shadow War event with Deathstroke and Robin versus Batman and all that, and you were just like not super on Williamson.
No,
like, I don't think I'm gonna pick this up. You're like, I don't need another. I'm not even super into Superman anyway. And
right.
Williamson, no, and here you are simping.
I mean, dude, it's been a consistent pick of the week, so I am right there. God, I almost feel like I should just push the button because but no, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I know exactly what I'm picking for my pick of the week, and I'm sure it's gonna piss off a lot of people, but that's okay. But I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked the art style, and I like this mystery new character who apparently can beat the shit out of Superman. He's got the capability to. So I'm very eager to find out who it is. Why haven't we seen the OP Superman had in Action Comics 1050 where he opened that portal? Oh yeah, the Goku, Son Goku Superman. Yeah. Superman was awesome. The change of art was a bummer until we got to the chain. Fantastic variant covers as well. I just reread Volume 1 of Superman in Action Comics, and they don't talk about it. Yeah, that is weird.
I don't remember. I literally don't remember that.
Remember Lex was like getting ready to put the kibosh on him. Yeah, he pumped him out into the Phantom Zone or no, he threw him across like multiverses or something like that. And then Superman was like, he did his instant transmission, like, pew! And like showed up in front of Lex and was like, bitch, I can move between space, basically. And then almost killed him in his spacesuit and then kept him alive. You don't remember that?
I don't. Nope.
Yeah, he had like a new power.
I still don't.
He literally can instant transmission himself across universes.
I mean, he's fast, so that doesn't surprise me.
Now Nate's gonna find it.
Well, you keep going. I mean, I don't have anything. Look, I agree. I enjoy it. I like the art. It's not Jamal Campbell, but Melikoff does a really, really good job. I think his style flourishes with the chained guy. I thought that was awesome, but I still want Jamal Campbell on the book.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's good. I think Nightwing's better, but I think this is good.
All right, next up. Oh, we're gonna be quick on this one. Titans issue number 3. Outside of the ending of the book, he says it's either 1050 or 1051. Outside of the ending of the book, I really was incredibly disinterested with this, whatever the hell's going on here. The mystery of Flash's death still, we got 48 hours now. But I feel like we're not going to get it. We're not going to come to a resolution because we're getting ready to do Beast Wars soon, with Tom Taylor and Titans. So I'm going to go ahead and say this one's on the potential chopping block. I'm going to give it another issue, but I'm slowly starting to lose my interest in the Titans, prior to them being kind of crowned essentially the new Justice League, right? They were going to be the group that was going to defend the Earth. And now it just kind of feels like, the Titans are doing their own thing over here. And it just doesn't feel consequential. And maybe that's because this is issue 3, and how many issues has it been since, or how many months has it been since, we've gotten a Titans book, and maybe that's the disconnect. So I will give the next issue a shot, but I don't know, like the flow of the book didn't really work for me. I was confused the whole time.
I wasn't confused at all in this book. I just wasn't like super enthralled into it. I'm not a Titans reader, so
Right.
A lot of these characters I actually just don't care about. Cyborg, you can miss me with. Beast Boy, I could never see him again for the rest of my life, and I'm more happy if I did. So a lot of these characters.
Joe says it perfectly. Sorry.
I just don't feel like they're the number one team in DC. It's like they're telling us what doesn't feel on the level as Justice League. I can agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
They don't feel that powerful in any sort of capacity. But it's Tom Taylor, so I'm still gonna keep reading it for a while.
Right.
It's not bad enough to where I'm like, yeah. Especially because I'm imagining it's gonna tie into whatever plans that he has going forward.
Beast Wars.
I also found what you're talking about, but what's the question about it? Just why haven't we seen that?
Why haven't we seen him like jump to different universes by just thinking about it? Pew!
I don't think. Why does he need to?
Right.
What plot point would have been solved?
I don't think there's a reason. Like, I don't think there's a reason for it. But it was such a random, like. I liked it. Don't get me wrong.
It was Luther's first encounter with Kal-El after he had come back from Warworld. And he's like, "Yo, you think you know about me, but you don't know shit about how I am now. I can literally do things your mind cannot understand. So like, maybe don't fuck with me." And then that's when he put him in jail. So like, at no point has he come across a situation, I think, where he's needed to go full OP on.
Well, we might see it now with this chain dude. Calvin says, "I'm just glad Cyborg is back with the Titans." Nate, please tell me you're caught up on on the madness.
I read the first issue. I did enjoy the first issue. I need to pick the second because I know issue 3 comes out next week, so I need to read it as well.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Wonder Woman issue number 1 from Tom King.
Tom King hates men.
Pick of the week.
This is my pick of the week.
Tom King's a bleeding heart lib.
Bleeding heart lib.
Tom King's a simp beta chud.
This is my pick of the week. It was heavy. It was thick. It had a lot of words in it. But I genuinely liked the issue. I know that this is coming across as a something that DC Comics has done before, with the Amazons being kicked out of the US, and they're not of our, they're not part of us, they're not part of our country, whatever, blah blah blah. whatever. I haven't read that, so to me this was fun and fresh. I really enjoy the artwork in this book. I really like how Diana is being portrayed in the book. I love how badass she was in her little snow fight with the Metal Hand Man guy and the US agents. I thought she looked like a total fucking killer badass. I really enjoyed Tom's description of her and how she really is better than all of the Justice League combined. I thought that was so fucking cool. Where, Batman's gonna Batman and Superman's gonna Superman, but nobody can Wonder Woman like Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt fucking cool. And I also liked her giving up her sword and giving it back to the Queen and saying, take this. I can't be trusted with it because of how emotionally connected. I mean, I just think I am not incredibly versed with Wonder Woman, but I think it's her special sword. I think she got it from her mother. It's just kind of something that was given to her when she came to the left the island. And who said that? John, the Argent cover. My God, like, fucking amazing. I love the ricocheting bullets, especially the one on her headband. That is so fucking cool. Like, I love the shit out of this cover. And when I brought it up at the shop, Mike was like, dude, her hair is so fucking awesome. I was like, dude, it is a great cover. It's an amazing cover.
It's almost Chichetto there. Almost Chichetto.
Chichetto-esque. But anyway, I liked it. I like the storyline. I like where we're going. I like that we're, introducing, even though we kind of knew it was coming with, that the prelude story where we meet her daughter and her daughter has the black lasso, the lasso of lies. We see that at the end of this book. So we have confirmation of it. It's in the story. The fact that I know that that's kind of where that particular weapon is going, like where it's going to head to. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. And I'm going to say this. I like I said, I like the way she's being portrayed and drawn in the book. She looks like a fucking Amazon. She looks the part, she looks like an Amazon. She fights like an Amazon. She doesn't look dainty. She looks like a total badass. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It's my pick of the week.
I think Joe points out something that's, I think, that I want to point out, but I want to find the proper credit. So give me just a second.
No, I think I know what you're saying, and I do like that.
I mean, come on. Where do we credit this book? Where's our? It'll be in the back of this issue. Yeah. Tom King rattled off so much, and kept going with was so purple prose, just going on and on. That Clayton Cowles deserves an extra award for being able to not only fit in every little damn word that man wants, but still let Sampray's artwork shine. And while I would say Joe's also right, it took away from a little of the shine, because there were times like that panel with the Queen, like, holy fucking shit, like, this is great. This art is amazing. And when we let him shine, and there's not just like words everywhere.
Right.
But I still think we made it work.
No, and I think that's why it's my pick of the week, because even with the very thick story, which again, it wasn't bad, it was just very descriptive, this issue still shined. Like, I got done reading it and I was like, that was fucking fun. And dude, when that one Amazon got blasted, like riddled with bullet holes, I mean, I turned that page and I was like, oh fuck, like, we're not holding back here. Like, so I don't know. I'm very, if I had one criticism outside of the amount of words, is, hey, DC, I know you're trying to like save money on printing and picking like pretty shitty paper. This book deserves to be on shiny paper, like on very thin or thick, shiny stock. Like,
Oh, so I love the matte. I love that.
I mean,
finish.
I think the matte's fine, but like, I think the artwork would have popped even more if it had been on that style of like Black Label-esque paper. Like I think it would have really made it feel even more special. Especially, I don't know. I just think that I liked it. I thought it was fun. I cannot wait to see where it goes. It's like a Todd McFarlane and Stan Lee back in the day style. Yeah. I hate when they draw her skinny and the artist got her looking on point here. She just looks like a warrior. She looks like she could beat your ass. And I just think that's kick ass. I really liked it. I even liked it when she was having that conversation with the agent and he calls her a bitch and she's like, I don't like that word. You don't say that. Like she basically is like, you don't say that. And I love that so much. I thought that was really fun. But it's my pick of the week. I do not apologize for it.
Nice. I don't know why anyone would get mad at you for that being.
Well, there's people out there who are gonna be mad. All right, next up we have Grimm, issue number 13 from Stephanie Phillips. This also was very close to being my pick of the week. It just was fun. I thought it was we got a character dive, we character analysis with our one character who is, I believe, currently in hell. And he's really living it. He's reliving the death of his partner, the death of his husband or boyfriend. I don't know if they were married or not. And just kind of reliving
1890s, I would assume not.
Yeah. Reliving his neglect or his perceived neglect of his partner while he was dying.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very deep character study rather than a broad brushstroke of an issue, kind of captivating everything that's going on currently in Grimm. We are honing in on this character who is no longer with the group at the moment and is living in hell. And it doesn't seem like he's having a really good time. I mean, I wouldn't believe he would be. It's hell.
I had a really big problem with this issue.
Okay.
The issue, let me rephrase that. With the placement and release of this issue.
Okay.
The issue itself was great. I really like character study issues like this. Being able to do a deep dive and get to learn a character like Marcel more. I'm very interested. But we did this when we did a smack dab in the middle of an arc while we have things going on.
All right.
And this isn't just one issue. There's at least a second character study arc.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna jump back into what we no completely non sequitur. It was like, hey, we're telling you the story. Actually, you know what? This guy's this character, and let me tell you about his past and like all this crazy. Okay, anyway, we were like back over here again, and then it's like 4 months later before I actually get back to the story that they originally. So,
look, I think Stephanie Phillips was doing, she got jealous of all the other DC readers doing their, getting completely cut off and then telling a completely different story.
Yeah.
I think she's just doing her best impression.
Well, and if that was the case, then she did a great job. The issue itself I liked, and of course that's not anything that's gonna be picking up this book. It's a great book, but I was frustrated by that. I was frustrated by the just like because it took me. I mean, I probably got 8 pages into this book that I was just like, wait a minute, where's Jessica? Where's the rest? Like, what's going on? And then when I was like, oh wait, this is just a Marcel story, and we need to. And then I reset, went back to page 1 and said, this is a Marcel story, and then I read it all. Touching and really intense. So yeah, I thought it was good. That was very good.
Yeah, for sure. Ugh. This is your pick of the week, isn't it?
It sure goddamn is. You better fucking believe
I'm
it.
sorry. I don't. Then tell me why I am wrong, because I felt so. Maybe I need to reread it, but I couldn't get into it. The artwork, don't get me wrong, the artwork was spot on, kick ass, the coloring, all of that fucking badass. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused as shit. All right, so is he? So let me throw it out there.
Don't do it.
Tell me
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So he's
don't don't do
why?
it.
Why?
We will get there.
But you know what I'm gonna say.
Yes, we will get there.
Oh, then confirm it to me. Is that what's going on?
Yes. We will get there. So,
I'm just
the
gonna look
way
at this.
that
I'm gonna look at this Wonder Woman cover while you talk because I was completely confused.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
The
keep
way that the creative team pitched this book was literally like we are living out sort of like our fantasies of another life, almost like a what could have been life if we had done different things. You know, instead of becoming comic creators, what we had done. And essentially what you have here is the main character who is a huge foodie and decides that he wants to basically Anthony Bourdain create his own Anthony Bourdain show where he goes around and makes a documentary about Indian food, Indian cuisine, and the culture and the history that lies in between. And it's literally he wants to do an Anthony Bourdain story. And I've as someone who was an RTVF major at one point who wanted to just make documentaries and just like literally have a camera on my shoulder 24/7, I could really relate to this. And so it's him trying to convince this kid who's had obviously just like failure after failure, trying to convince him to do this. The kid doesn't want to. But after having a cup of traditional masala chai and explaining to him the ingredients, and that's what we get an actual explanation of like what's going on, how it's made, what are some of the more traditional ways that these are being done. He decides, okay, that he's going to do that. That story right there compelled me enough. That with the art, with the implications of learning about Indian culture and Indian cuisine, and folding it into this really like deeply felt documentarian style comic book with this art, I was like, man, this really is going to be a Layla Starr too. Like, it's going to give me that ephemeral feeling that just you can't really kind of put your finger on it, but it just makes you feel something. But then there's also this other story running through this book where there's these two guys who are searching and you're not sure who they're searching for, and then halfway through the book you're like, oh, I think they're searching for the big guy, like the main character here. And then they arrive where he was just at recently, and there's dead eaten corpse, and it turns out that this man is eating people. He's eating people, and boy, my interest just went through the roof. I was like, not only does this, like, I just took Ramvi and Friday by, like, this is just, you know, like something that we wanted to make a book about. Like, what if we had done something else in our lives and it was very real, it felt very raw and honest and like natural and down to earth, and then all of a sudden this motherfucker's eating people too. I am super hooked. I really want to know like how that fits into the overall narrative of the story.
So he's eating people. Is he a demigod?
I think you're onto something. I think he might be. I think he might be.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna pick up issue 2. It gave me, not that I don't think what they're trying to set up isn't important, or not that it's intriguing. It is. But I immediately got flashbacks to his Detective Comics run. Like, it just felt like that. And maybe he was writing this at the same time as Detective Comics, and maybe this bled into over there, and that's why that feels so thick. I'm gonna reread it, but I felt stupid reading it. But then there were these hints of like what you were saying, this other story that's going on, and this mystery of why this guy is so persistent on trying to get this kid to make this documentary for him, and then finding out that he might be a god cannibal thing. That got me, but I just felt maybe it was the time I read it, or maybe it was my expectation that it was going to be somewhat like Layla Starr, you know, which that was like, I mean, I felt like Layla Starr did a really good job of intertwining culture and mythos and religion and the story that he was trying to tell all in one nice wrapped up big little present, or big present. Whereas this feels much more spread out in you know, this is going to make me sound stupid. It's just like, you got to think a little more. You just got to think a little bit more with it. You know, your appreciation for it really depends on what your life experience is, which is kind of ironic because we're talking about doing something different with your life and all that stuff.
Right.
But I think it depends more on what you have experienced as a reader and what you bring in as an individual into the book. And that's pretty heavy. That's pretty meta. What's the art like in the comic? Just like the cover, like literally just like the cover. Like it's pretty wacky. It's pretty good.
Very scratchy, very thin line. I mean, I would say the cover is probably a little bit more well put together than the interiors.
Yeah. But there are spreads where it gets a little crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm super looking forward to it.
I'll reread it and I will pick up issue 2. But I just felt, you know, I did my best to try to get away from. It's kind of why I like it, Alan or Calvin. You know, I did my best to try to get away from. There you go. You know, Size Spurrier and just thick, you know, and it bit me in the booty. His
art, the way that it kind of like flows, like everything feels like it has movement, even when it's something that's not moving, to the point where I would say it makes your eyes look like you're viewing something like you just tripped, like you're like on the last hour of a come down from like an acid trip or something like that.
I would agree with that assessment.
But
for sure.
It feels like what the movies have taught you, that is like that sort of like wavy sort of feeling and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of. I do think it's a lot of colored pencil. It does look that way.
Alrighty, well, hold on. I didn't push the button. So this is Nate's pick.
That's Nate's pick of the week.
Keep that finger on the dial. Go to the next book. I get 2 picks of the week because this book is so goddamn good.
No, you can't do
guys,
that.
I get 2. You do it all the time, and I'm doing it.
I held strong.
I am doing it this week because both of these books, to me, totally deserve pick of the week. This might be the best issue of Something Is Killing Each Other.
Yikes.
It is definitely in the top 3, and it's wild. It's wild to me. It's wild to me because there is. Well, I mean, I'll spoil it by. It's not. You're fucking with me.
No, I'm sorry.
It is wild because it is scary as shit, and nothing happens. No one gets stabbed. No one gets slaughtered. No thing kills no children. Nothing happens. But the entire book is just slowly building the anticipation. Throughout this whole book, Cutter is literally just around the corner or in the bed of the truck that's driving the girl and her aunt, or like literally about to lift the knife to kill someone before she hears something and stops and then moves away. Like every little bit is just, you think the next time I turn this page, like Erica is going to have a knife in her gut, or the girl's going to have her throat slit, or something bad is going to happen. And it never does. So literally I was like tense from the first page on. It was like, oh God, just get it over with. Just get it over with. Just get it over with. And we went the entire issue without it happening.
Nice.
That on top of the thing that I really like about this arc of the book is the atmosphere. It just really feels like this middle of nowhere podunk town, New Mexico, Arizona. I think it's in New Mexico, but like just like this Midwest or Southwest, I mean, right. area. And it's so cinematic. Like these large spreads are just, I don't know, they're just amazing to me. But we're starting to see more of the duplicity type that is appearing to look like Erica starting to pop out in public.
Yeah.
There's even like she even straight up goes to a girl and says something to her and is like, "I'm gonna like eat your face" or some shit, but then gets distracted at the last minute and doesn't end up killing the girl. It's 33 issues into and you're still putting out your best issue you've ever done. Will just continue to be an example to me of why this is the absolute best book in all of comics that's still coming out. And no actual real comic reviewer, podcaster person could ever take themselves seriously and not be reading this book now.
Oh my god. Well, Joe says
I have to say that every 2 or 3.
Nate says Joe says, Nate, I love that you love it so much, but I've heard a lot of people think that this book should have ended at issue 16. Why would they say that?
Well, at issue 16, you get, I would say, think of it like, maybe think of it like Alien versus, no, because even that's not right. With where you ended at issue 6, small, very very tight story. You got a lot of questions and a lot of things that you want to know about, but if you just stopped there, you have a really tight, scary story that I think does a lot of the things that Tinian wanted to do.
There's that word again.
But if you're like, what?
You said tight like 3 times.
Listen, that thing is toy.
Right.
Like a toy, like a toy.
Like a toyga.
But there are questions like, what is the fucking Order of St. George? What happened to Erica when she was a kid? How did she get to be this badass? Like, who are these other different masks? Why do they have different colors? And Tinian said, I want to tell those stories too, and expanded it. And what was just a really tight, perfect story with almost no flaws branched into a story that had maybe a couple of bruises, a couple of bumps. You know, like that small middle arc when Erica is younger is not a strong arc. We get a lot of lore and a lot of history, but the story and the writing is a little clunky, and it's not very scary. And I would even say that the first 3 or 4 issues of this we're on now, we're 11 or 12 issues into this arc, were a little they meandered a little bit. But I just feel that the stories that have been told post 16 are just so totally worth it. Now, if someone was to complain and say House of Slaughter shouldn't exist, I'm glad it does, but I would not fault anyone for saying House of Slaughter is too much. But I love this. I love this so much.
Well,
that's it.
Okay. Who said this? Who said that? Are you guys completely done with ASM, even though it totally rules? And then Joe, I think, did a really good job for answering for us. Essentially saying ASM really clicking on all cylinders right now, but I get why people lost hope because it's a roller coaster. That's my problem. Is ASM, it gets really good and then it gets really good and then it goes back up and down. And I just can't. I need consistency, God damn it. I'm sorry. I do. And the fact that Hickman and Cicero, right? Is it Cicero that's doing it?
Doing what?
Spider-Man.
Oh, with Hickman, yeah.
That just screams, I can't wait. And so, I don't know. I can't do it. I can't do it. Sounds like the MCU's leading towards the end game, and now we got post end game. End game was just the beginning. Was it what? I'm confused.
They're saying like what the way I was describing something is killing the children.
Oh. I was lost. All right. Well. What?
Oh, did you seriously not pick this up?
No. I said fuck it, not doing it.
That's so dumb.
No.
Why would you not? It's the last of the arc.
No, I don't want to do it.
Okay, well, you can pull up a picture or you can sit here and wait because I'm going to tell you about it.
Okay, you go ahead and talk about it while I pull it up. Oh, God.
And what's going to be even more great is here's my synopsis of Noctera 16. This is the end of the arc, and this is not the end of the book, but they are taking a break. They were supposed to be taking 6-month hiatuses, according to this nice little postscript we get in the back. They were supposed to be taking 6-month hiatuses in between every 5 issues, but they were having so much fun and it was so successful that they just kept pushing along. Tony Daniels even pushed his book, Edenwood, that's getting a lot of press right now. He pushed his book back like a year and a half so that they could get this far. And so when they finally got here, Daniel was basically like, hey, I really want to do my book. Can we take that break?
Can I do my book now?
Can we take that break that we were talking about? And so this is going on hiatus for. Actually, I'm curious if it comes back, but this is going on hiatus for a while. Scott Snyder says he says we've got at least another like 16 issues that they've got tons and tons and tons more story. But I don't know. I don't know how much I believe in that. Here's your really quick synopsis of Noctera 16. They turned the sun back on.
Oh, cool.
How they did it and the words that were said in between were not interesting. It was basically Snyder has used Emery throughout this whole story to his talking point. Like when Emery's talking, just pretend like you're hearing Scott Snyder talk to you about the way that he views life and shit like that. And I just I found it a little heavy. I felt like we've 4 issues in a row now. It's just been just in his brain talking, like just this is the way I view life, this is the way I view things, this is how everything's going. And I just was like, I don't care. The art was really cool, the art was really fun, big giant explosions. It looked like they killed Blacktop Bill, but then it looks like for sure Blacktop Bill gets eviscerated into dust and nothingness. Like the way that Tony Daniel drew this was like, oh yeah, he's for sure dead. And then the book ends. And so if you didn't read the little post, you wouldn't know, oh yeah, he's definitely not dead. Like he literally says, oh yeah, there's tons more coming from Blacktop Bill. And I'm like, oh, you totally fucking eviscerated him in the storyline. He is dead. So overall, I would say not the most, not the best end to a story. But Noctera, I think, is one of those stories that like the journey is the good part. It wasn't necessarily the end that's the best, but
okay.
I'm still glad that I read the 6 issues. Okay. And I think the first trade is one of those intro trades where it's only like $10 for the first 6 issues. So I thought it was a story worth reading, and I actually do hope they come. I hope after taking a year off, they do come back, but. I'm also not upset that I won't have this book.
Yeah, I was kind of just over it.
You're gonna have a hole in your collection forever.
Oh no!
I know.
All right. Well, we can't just end the show. We've got something else to talk about, don't we? Nate, tell me. Oh, Jesus Christ! I guess. So, Nate, tell me, did you watch Evangelion?
Yes and no. I didn't watch the movie you said for us to watch.
Right, because we had a very lengthy discussion.
I can't not start at the beginning of something.
Right.
Like, it's just not. I can't do it. So I went back to the 1997 TV show, and I watched the first 14 episodes.
Oh wow, you got into 14.
Yeah, of the 26. So I watched over half in a week. And I'm pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
I will finish it for sure.
Where are we? So where are you at right now on 14? I can't remember.
So let's see. The last thing that we saw was where I'm trying to think. Because these descriptions don't mean shit. Oh, where an angel actually like infiltrates Nerve and tries to take over the Magi computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's still the three, right? There's still the three
There's
children.
still just
Okay.
the three children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't established anyone else yet. Cool. Well, yeah, that is. I'm glad. I'm actually glad that we had the discussion we had on the show and then post show where you were asking like, okay, so what is this? What is that? So I'm actually really glad that you're watching the original 1997 show, because I think it makes you appreciate the redo movies even more, because there's more, in my opinion, there's more just kind of layered onto it. You know, the first two movies are pretty damn close to the original 97. Like it's very cut right into, there's some differences in like design and how some angels act, but the first two movies are very close to what happened in the original 97 series. And then it just kind of, you know, he's like, fuck it, I am retelling this story in a completely and brand new way, and it's really good. So I'm glad that you're watching the original 97. I really wish you could watch it not with Netflix's fingerprints on it, but that's, you know, that's being nitpicky. But I'm really glad that you're watching it. I watched the first Evangelion movie on Amazon and halfway through the second one. Good job, John. I would love to know how you like it. Alvin, yes, the third third child. I'm very interested to see how you react as you continue to progress through the series, and it starts to get, you know, weirder and weird. Like you're on the cusp of like starting to get almost uncomfortably weird. You know, as you progress with the angels, it gets, you know, you dive deeper into the psychoanalysis of every character and you know what their motivations are, and you may have thought that this person's motivations were here, but they're actually over here, and it gets pretty heavy. And when you get to the two movies from the 97 series, that's when it really, it's fucking weird. It's really
and that's the thing that I'm really interested in. When we get to the weird, do they drop the typical I guess you would call it like comedic relief things, or do they still have those things in with the?
No, it goes away, because, and I think it's clearly the creator just, you know, dialing it to 11, you know, essentially going like luring you in. Oh, this is giant robots versus monsters, and here's the comedic relief, and here's the pervy shit, right?
Right.
And that was to get everybody in the door, right? And then you get to the end, and it's like, oh, didn't expect to see that while that song was playing, that kind of shit.
Right.
And you kind of, I would almost say you get a little bit of that in the movies. Like at the beginning of the movie, I mean, it's not as prevalent. Like the chibi, you know, that shit is not as prevalent in the movies, but there's still some comedic relief, but it's a little bit more, it's done a little bit more gracefully. Whereas obviously it makes more sense that it's in the 97 version. I mean, that's the culture. That's, you know, we were putting this shit on TV in Japan, you know, so they had to get in the door. And then when they got to the back end, I'm sure there were people watching that at the time going like, I gotta go to bed, you know, like, and I just saw that, you know what I mean? So it gets weird. But I'm really glad. So I, you know, would love to see, the characters are great. You know, if anyone else is continuing or watching, I think we'll, you know, we said we were going to watch the first movie, but I think now that Nate has committed to the Netflix series, the 97 series, you know, I'm not saying don't go watch the movies. If you want to start with the movies, start with the movies. But if you guys are at all interested in watching the actual show first, now that Nate has actually bit the bullet and taken, you know, jumped off the deep end and gone for it, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really, you know, Evangelion Neon Genesis was the anime that got me into all of this. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't Dragon Ball Z. I remember as a kid seeing that VHS tape of the first, you know, however many episodes were on I guess it would be four episodes on a tape, and I was like, I want to watch that. And I remember watching it like, oh, this is cool, giant robots. And then as a middle schooler watching, you know, the back end of the series in my room going like, I don't think I'm supposed to be watching this, you know? And that kind of tipped the scales towards watching anime. You know, and then I got into the cool shit like DBZ and all that shit, and Toonami having, you know, really fun stuff, Cowboy Bebop. But Evangelion is where it started for me, so I'm really glad that you're on that journey. We need to do a watch along. Ooh, that'd be fun. Something new to watch. Heck yeah, I knew. And now's
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I don't know how. I know people do watch alongs. That's one thing I think we could figure out. We could technically start it now, in the sense, you know, I've been watching some other podcasts that do stuff like that, and how they do that is through either Discord or they do it through Patreon, where they set up a Discord through Patreon, and then you go to the link through Patreon, and you know, we do a watch along, so we don't get copyright strike, where we can all be in the same room and we can watch. So that might be a really cool idea. We'll have to explore that as the show continues to grow and we grow the community. But I like that idea. It was those weird anime commercials from the videos in the 90s for me. Nice. I'm down for watching all the movies. I have 1,003 episodes of One Piece to watch. Jesus Christ. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week's live show of Two Fat Guys Pull Us 1 to 48. Make sure to catch us make sure to catch our new comic book day video, which will drop this Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we got another decent-sized week. I wouldn't say as heavy as this week, but it's a little bit more spread out, but it's pretty heavy. So be on the lookout for that, and then we'll catch you guys live again this Sunday, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, where we'll talk about all these books and more, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more Evangelion at the end. Or, you know, how about this? Here's your homework assignment, chat. On the next video, on the next new comic book day video, recommend, or maybe it's at the end of this video in the comment section, recommend what you would want to do a watch along when it comes to anime. Let us know. Let us know down in the comments. Calvin says, "Good night, Kings. Good night, sir. Thank you for the show, guys. Another great one in the books. Bye, guys. Later, guys. Hope the Cowboys beat New England next week."
Oh God.
Anyway, as always, fam, be kind to one another and read more comics. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.